Let's start building our own volunteer management system. Similar to what we did with the fundraising platform, we're going to start by putting together or designing the database. We're going to put together the data model. It's also referred to as the schema or the entity relationship diagram. I'll be using Zoom whiteboards to build this diagram, but you can use any whiteboard or diagramming system out there. The first thing we need to know is in a database, we are basically building tables. And whenever we build a table, we need to identify the list of columns, similar to an Excel sheet, or fields. So I'll be using the term column or field to refer to the same thing, the column. And then for every column or for every field, we're going to specify the data type of that field. And the data type is something like a number, if we want this to accept numbers only, or a text if we need this to accept text only, an email if we needed to accept text in the format of an email only, and so on. Now, when building a volunteer management system, what kind of data do we need to log and track? This is going to be the events that we're going to hold, and then the people that will be attending these events, and then what would those people do in those events. So let's start breaking this down. Let me find the shape for the entity relationship diagram. I typically go with this shape here because this is basically a table. So the first thing we need to have is an event table. For what kind of information do we need to collect on an event? The left side here is the name of the column or the name of the field, and then the value, like the data type. I'm going to put the data type to the right side here. So this is the first thing is going to be the name of the event, and this is going to be just a text data type. And then we're going to need a start date time. This is going to be a date time field. And we're going to need another one called the end date time. And this is also going to be a date time field. We can add things like the status of the event. And that would be, let me just copy it from here. This is we could use, this is going to be a data type select or drop down or pick list, whatever, like every system just names this data type differently. It's going to be like a list of choices from which we select one. We're going to use planned, in progress, and then completed. Let's add a couple more. We're going to need a description. And this is going to be a long text. So text, but just allow us to put in more characters. And then we can add a couple additional fields, portal title. When we build the event in the database, we might give it a name, but then when we display it to volunteers or people who will register or sign up, if we want to display a different name, you could use like a portal title, and this is going to be a text. If you don't want to display a different name, you can skip this part. And then a portal image file. So we're gonna, for every event, we're gonna display some image or hero section at the top to show the like some visual about the event. This is going to be of data type file. Now this is our event table. In every event we're going to have jobs. We'll call them jobs, like, you know, what would people do in the event. So some people are going to greet other people, some people are going to do the help desk support, some people will be doing the ticketing. So many different jobs in one event. So we're going to have a second table. And then we're going to name it volunteer job. So this is our second table here. And since this is going to be related to the event, so every event has multiple volunteer jobs, the way we would establish this relationship is I'm going to add an arrow from here to this, and this is going to be the event. So this, we're saying here, this volunteer job is related to this event. You need to select the event, and this is going to be of data type link or lookup or relationship. The idea here is, like, just I'm using these because different systems just use different words, but it's the same thing. We're saying that the volunteer job is related to the event, and the type of relationship is like, ignore all of these shapes. It just, I'm saying one event. You notice the end of this line is just 1, but then the end of this line is 3. So we're saying in one event we might have more than one volunteer job. Could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. Multiple jobs per event. So this is the first piece of information for a volunteer job. We're going to need a name, the name of this job. This is just the text, and then a description for this job. We don't need anything else. We're going to delete all of these. I'm going to fix this. So this is our volunteer job. And then for each volunteer job now, somebody's going to greet people. The event might be going from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. It might be going like this every day. So there are shifts. We can add then another table just below this one. And it's a similar concept, similar to how we have multiple jobs per event. We're going to have multiple shifts per volunteer job. So this is going to be a volunteer job. And it's also another link to, this time, to the volunteer job. And the name, the shift itself doesn't need a name per se. It does need start and end times. So we're going to add start date time. And let's use this. And then we're going to need another. That's going to be the end date time. I'm just gonna, it's bugging me that it's not being centered. And the date time. Just gonna move this back here. I realized this is not being centered either. That's fine. So we have now multiple volunteer shifts for each job. So far, so good. You could give it a name, like in a database. Every table needs a name field. That's how you're going to navigate from one thing to another. It needs to be clickable. You need to click on it in order to navigate to it. And I'll show you this when we start actually building stuff. So we're going to add the name of the shift, and that's a text field. And it doesn't need to have like a dedicated text name. It can be, the name can be just like the start time. So it would be the same piece of information again in the name field. All right, now that we have the event, job, and shifts in place, now the last piece is going to be the people who would be attending these events as volunteers. So we're going to need a table for those people. So this is going to be the contacts, the contact object, that's the person. You can name it person, you can name it individual, you can name it volunteer even. The reason we go for a more generic term like contact or person instead of using a volunteer is that one person might be more than just a volunteer. A person can be a volunteer in this instance, but if we're using the same system for fundraising as well, so one person might be a volunteer and a donor. There might be a sponsor, there might be like a partner. So they might have different roles, or they might be contributing in many different ways. So that's why we go with the generic term. And in this system, we are linking the person to the shift that they are volunteering at. But then you might have multiple links, multiple relationships. So we will link the person to the shifts. We'll also link the person to the donations. That's why you might consider going for a generic term like this instead. All right, so what kind of information do we need about a person? We're gonna need their name, first name. Let's just say like full name, and then we're gonna need their phone number. We're gonna need their email. We're gonna need street address, and then city, state, postal code, country. Right. So this is all the information we need to collect about the person. The name is going to be of data type text. The phone number, there is actually a phone number data type, and then the email is also of data type email. For the rest of the information, all of this is going to be a bunch of text. So this is all the information we need to collect about a person. Now, when a person volunteers, right? So they are gonna select which event, which job, and which shift. So we need, since from the shift, I would know which job it is, and then from the job, I would know which event it is. So what we need to do is we need to link the person to the shift, right? And since one person might volunteer more than one time, right? A person might volunteer actually more than one thing. So they might volunteer in one job and then in another job in two different shifts. So the idea here is that one person might have multiple shifts, and meaning as well in one shift there might be multiple people. This kind of relationship is called many-to-many relationships. Many contacts are related to many shifts. To do this, we have to create another table in between these two. So remember that this is going to be, let's say, volunteer hours or whatever other name, submissions, registrations, you name it, whatever you want. Every table needs a name field, so we're just going to add the name field in here. And then what we're saying is this is the link between these two. So the first thing is going to be the volunteer shift. And then the other thing is going to be volunteer. And these are two different relationships. So I'm going to copy this here and here. And let's do the arrows. So this is the volunteer shift. And this is the actual volunteer. So we're saying we can create 1 or 2 or 3 of these rows or records in this table, saying this person, the first person here, let's create 1 volunteer hours for them in this shift, and then let's create a second for the same person in another shift, and then a third, so we can create multiple rows in this table. We can add a couple more additional information here. Fix this again, and fix this again. Such as status, this could be values like registered, attended, and absent. And you could also add number of hours, the actual number of hours that they stayed or volunteered. And this is going to be a number field. Right. So this is everything in database. I'm just going to do some cleaning. This is pretty much our data model for ERD. We have an event. In every event, we have jobs. And then in every job, we have multiple shifts. In every shift, we have multiple signups. After people sign up, and then I can update this table to say this person actually show up. Did they not show up? If they did show up, then how many hours did they submit? Next, we're going to build this into a system called Softr. This is going to be the next video. I'll see you then.